everyone. Welcome to Kiwanis Talk. Kiwanis Talk is a public information program brought to you by the volunteer members of the Kiwanis Club of Dearborn through the lovely studios here at WDHS and Dearborn High School, Dearborn, Michigan. I'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. We've got a great show, special guest this evening, and without further ado, let me introduce that guest. Dan DeSebastian.
Hello.
And Dan, you're here from CPR.
Yep.
What does CPR
Cell phone
stand?
repair.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Myself? Okay. I'm not a resident of Michigan. I've been here about 16 years. I worked for the Ford Motor Company for 14 years. And after 30 years in automotive, I retired and decided to open my own business. With the economy being the way it was, I thought it'd be good if we could put some more people back to work. So I opened a store. This is a franchise, national franchise, called CPR. And there are 135 stores in North America.
What made you decide that one versus any other franchise?
That's a good question. My background is engineering. I went to school for engineering, so I like something technical. I've always been a little bit of a geek as far as like to play with the latest gadgets. And so this just seemed like a natural fit for me. I believe you have to do something you're passionate about, so I have a passion for this product.
Fantastic. So you have family, you have 2 children, I know.
Yeah, 2 children, 17 and 14.
And their names, we've got to give them a shout out.
Okay, we do that. Michael and Rachel.
Okay.
Yep, and my wife's name is Diane.
Great. And so you're local to the area, and
Yeah, we live in Northville now. Yep, we lived in Canton. We were relocated a couple times working for Ford, but we always seem to end up on the west side.
so you're enjoing the retired, or
Yeah,
you know,
well,
or is
I
that
don't know
like,
how
are
retired
you
I am. I'm working harder now than I've ever worked in my life. It's a very interesting learning process when you're in your own business.
Yes, I'm sure there's some enlightening moments there. And well, so tell us, is it just cell phones? Tell us a little bit about your store. Tell us where it's located and.
Okay, yeah, great. We are in Novi, Michigan at the Novi Town Center, which is across from the 12 Oaks Mall. We're positioned about 50 feet from AT&T, which is a strategic partner. We try to partner with all the carriers, Verizon, AT&T. We don't sell cell phone airtime. We mainly focus on repairs. And so we don't compete with them, we actually support them. But we also do all makes and models of phones, where there are some shops that focus on just Apple products. We focus on any product. We also are able to do iPads, tablets of any kind. We have the ability to fix music players, the most popular being the iPod, obviously, but there are a lot of other brands. We're able to fix cameras. We've had a number of people bring us their cameras, and that's something we advertise a lot, but people bring them in. We have the ability to fix laptop computers. Today we even fixed a headset. Lady brought in a headset. Her son had pulled the wires out of it, so we resoldered them. So we have the ability to fix just about any handheld electronic device.
We got a pretty good little niche there, you know. There's something that I know when you take it into, like if I take it to the store who is my carrier, it's kind of like it's limited to what they can do, and you know, it's like, God forbid you drop it in the water.
Yeah, that's a good point. We have the ability to fix water damaged phones, which is not something that a lot of people can do. You'll find some smaller shops, or even maybe some of the carriers will fix the simple things. We call them the simple things, where you crack your screen on your iPhone. A lot of people can do that. But when your phone won't charge anymore, you've dropped it in the water, or you have more issues with the speakers or other things, that's where we can do things that other people can't do.
And you use, I'm assuming, a higher quality product than some places. I know that that I've had friends that have had their phones fixed there, and then they say the next day it cracked again because the glass was so thin.
Yeah, we offer a 6-month warranty on our products, so we have to make sure that we have quality OEM product. Otherwise, we're going to be getting it back, and we won't make any money that way. So, all our product comes through the cell phone repair central corporate office, and they have a warehouse in China where they test every part before they ship it to the United States. They're coming from the same place that Apple buys their parts, Samsung buys their parts in Korea. They all go through the central warehouse. They go to Orlando, Florida. That's where I place my orders into, and we get mainly OEM from CPR. Once in a while, we'll go to another supplier in the United States if if it's a unique phone. There are some phones that we don't stock because they're not as popular, and we may have to go to other sources. But again, with that 6-month warranty, we're very careful where we buy our parts.
Now, do you strictly focus on smartphones, or are there other types?
No, it's really interesting. Dick Purton came in today with his flip phone, and he had dropped it in the water. He was pretty distraught, and he insisted that we fix that phone. We tried to talk him into some other brand. We also sell reconditioned phones.
Okay.
So for people who come in and they're 2 years into they're a year into their 2-year contract, they have no option. The phone's not repairable. We'll have a phone in the case usually that we can move them into. So we were encouraging him to move into something more technical, but he wasn't having it. So we fixed his phone today, and we gave it back to him. He had a nice silver flip phone. So we're in the whole market there. I mean, obviously, the more complicated smartphones are really computers and not phones.
Right.
And they cost $600, $700, $800, and people are not going to throw those away like they will a flip phone. But
Exactly. Now, what if somebody didn't need their phone anymore? You take donations, anything like that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. The founder of the cell phone repair franchise is from Orlando, Florida. When he was a child, he needed several operations his family couldn't afford, and the Shriners stepped in and helped him out. So now the entire organization supports the Shriners Children's Hospital, and we donate certain proceeds from phones that we receive from people. Every month we send a check to the Shriners. Every store is required to support the Shriners in their local area.
Very nice.
And so we encourage people to bring us their old broken down phones that are completely useless. And what they can do is strip the plastic and the copper out of those, and they can recycle it. And we send a check every month to the Shriners organizations.
Oh, very nice. So there's a reason for people to.
Yeah, so I encourage people, if you have phones
If
at
you
home
have
in your drawers,
phones,
please bring
Right,
them.
because they end up on a garage sale or somewhere, and then no one wants them, and they just sit. So it's like
Right,
I think I might have donated a BlackBerry or two.
Even batteries. We tell people to bring us your batteries because we recycle the batteries, and rather than putting them in the landfill, we'd rather put them through the recycle process. So we'll take just about anything. People bring in stuff that we don't even want, but we take it if it's electronics, and we find some way to get it recycled. That way it doesn't go to the landfill.
So do you get what's the thing you get the most of? I mean, do you get more cell phones, or how about gaming systems? Do you do gaming
Yeah,
systems?
you know, you're right. We fix Xboxes, Wii's, and PS3s, the little handheld DSs. We don't get a lot of those. We might get a unit that comes in and it's just unrepairable. Then they'll tell us just to keep it. Then we'll recycle it.
Okay.
But I would say the majority we get are the older phones, the old slide phones with the keyboard and the flip phones. We get a lot of, and I don't want to
People
say
get
anything
attached
bad
to
about
those.
BlackBerry, but we're getting an awful lot of BlackBerries these days as people transition to the Samsung and Apple products.
Yeah, I think I referred someone today who had to revert back to his BlackBerry, and he was having a hard time figuring out and poking the screen, and it's like doesn't do what your
Yeah.
iPhone does, and so
Some people like myself struggle with the keypads on the touch screens and want to stay with their BlackBerry. That's why I still have a BlackBerry.
well, it is kind of like easier, especially if you're doing it one-handed. It's easier to do than it is with the touch screens.
Absolutely.
And,
I can type with 2 thumbs on my BlackBerry much faster than I can on an iPhone. All my family members have iPhones, but I stick with the BlackBerry.
You're going to stick with the tried and true, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, isn't there a BlackBerry that's more upgraded, or?
Yeah, there's a Z10 and a Q10. Now I'm doing advertising for RIM, right? But the Q10 has a slider keyboard, and the Z10 does not. It's just a smart screen, and they're trying to compete with Samsung and Apple, who dominate the market right now.
So now, do you partner with other carriers? How does that work? Do you have a relationship?
Yeah, we have a
with, like-
relationship. We don't partner with them. They obviously don't endorse anyone for repairs, but we get probably 3 or 4 referrals a day from the local stores. Like as far out as Livonia, Plymouth. I'm getting a lot of referrals from Brighton and Howell, west of us. We do get the local AT&T store right next to us, and over in the mall there's the Verizon, T-Mobile. We get a lot of referrals from GameStop and Radio Shack. Radio Shack, people come in, they don't know, it's a gadget store, right?
Right.
And people come in and say, can you help me with my phone? And they usually send them over to us. And So we give the people discounts that they send over. That helps them because they've helped the customer, and so
Right.
it's a
You know,
pretty
'cause
good relationship.
I'm sure, and especially like with gaming systems, I'm sure a lot of people, they don't think about getting it repaired. You know,
No,
they
they
think,
don't.
oh, it's just going to sit on the shelf.
Well, they
Now
usually go to
this is no good.
GameStop and say, "Hey, can you repair this?" And they don't have that capability.
Right.
And it used to be. I talked to a couple of GameStop people about 3 or 4 months ago. They said, "Well, we had nothing we could do, just turn them away." But now they're sending them over to us. And
Now they have options. And
Right.
Now, how many stores are in Michigan?
The first store opened in Shelby Township at 25 in Van Dyke in December. I was the second store in February. A third store is opening this week, and don't quote me on the address, but it's also right on the edge of Shelby Township and probably in the Utica area. But that'll be the third one. And I had the rights to the Dearborn area, and I have given that up for an individual who wanted Dearborn. And I believe they're going to put a store right on Michigan Avenue here, probably in the next 3 or 4 months.
Would probably make sense with all the major carriers right,
Right,
there.
right
It's
where
like
you-
that
that's
little
exactly right.
triangle of.
Strategically, CPR always puts themselves within a half a mile of the carriers. And right now, I'm surrounded by 4 carriers, and so I'm sure he'll be very close to here, right around the corner here.
Well, I'll still come out there. I'll make
Thank
sure I
you.
still come out. You guys do a great job. You know, I've had my iPhone and the Galaxy and
The iPod, yep.
the iPod. It's like the thing I have to say is it was quick. It was instead
Yeah.
of being like you might think that it's going to take a week or a day or so, it did. It was.
And that's kind of our business model. A lot of people come to us and say they have insurance, but they have to send their phone back in, and it's going to be 3 days. And we tell them we can do it probably in an hour, hour and a half. Now, if we have to order a part, then we may be looking at a day or 2 to get the part. But if we have the parts, we'll usually turn a repair in 60 minutes.
Great. And I like the fact that you warranty it too. So, it's like that's the thing. Instead of just fixing it, no, you're on your own. Oh, no, you come back, you're going to pay another however much it is. It's like I like the fact that you warranty them for 6 months.
Yeah, I have people come to me, they actually got their phones fixed in Dearborn. I'm not sure where. Their screens weren't bad, and I said, well, why don't you just take it back to where you had it repaired? And they said, no, they won't they don't guarantee the phones. Or some places will only do 30 days.
Yeah, and anything can happen in that time. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, electronics are electronics. I mean, you never
Right.
know what's going to happen.
I mean, it's as many times as I've dropped that. It's like I'm
Well,
sure
that's
the
what
shocks
happens.
of-
People drop their phone, it's fine. They drop it, it's fine. Drop it, it's fine. But over time, it accumulates damage, and eventually, that one last time you drop it, it doesn't work. You don't even have to crack the screen. People come in and the screen doesn't work, and hopefully, it's just a simple thing where it disconnected itself. But other times, it's not that easy, and we have to replace the screen.
And then there's those jacks that we plug into, and we tend to
Yeah,
talk
that's a
on
high
and-
failure rate. The biggest failure rates are where you plug in and your power button. They get so much movement and dirt gets in there and it fails. And so we see a high percentage of power buttons and charging jacks. Obviously, we see a lot of cracked screens because
Because not everybody wants to put those bulky little covers on it that protect it.
as much
but
as I encourage them to buy a case, which is counterintuitive to my business, they don't want them. Then they put them in their pockets. And what people tend to do is they crack the screens just by sitting on their phones.
Sitting on it, right. And if you don't have it, I mean, it's just that little slip out of your hand. I mean, it's sitting in my lap while I'm driving, and then I forget, get out of the car, and boom, it's on the ground,
Right.
and next thing you know, but I'm glad I've invested in the good. I mean, it makes it a little thicker. It makes it a
Yeah,
little
you have a
bulkier,
strong
but,
case, you should be in good shape.
But with the business I'm in, I need my phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm glad I've got a place to come to if I do break it and I can get a quick repair. But we're going to be taking a commercial break here in a second,
Good.
and then we'll come back and we're going to continue talking with D&D Sebastian of Cell Phone Repair. And so stay tuned, watch the Dearborn High Video Kids do our Kiwanis Talk commercial.
Hello, in our community there is an organization that has lasted for nearly 100 years. Their members are not paid a single cent for their time and effort. In fact, they give rather than receive. You may not recognize them by their faces, but once a year they put on their aprons and go to good work. They are Kiwanis and they care about our community, so help them and donate to the annual Peanut Fundraiser. You may not recognize them by their faces, but the work they do is unmistakable.
Someone once said, take care of the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. When it comes to your community, Kiwanis knows how important it is to contribute a little when you can, because it all adds up. That's why, this year, Kiwanis will be collecting your small change in dollars during their annual Peanut fundraiser. Change can be made from the dollars you contribute, so help the kids, the schools, and the community by contributing change for literally peanuts. Kiwanis cares.
Hello and welcome back to Kiwanis Talk. I'm your host, Jeanette Christie, along with my special guest, Dan DeSebastian of Cell Phone Repair, talking about electronics, repairs, all those little things, you know, the gaming systems, laptops, iPods, all kinds of great things, devices that we use and treasure and need for businesses or play. And Dan's the man that can take care of it if you have any issues. So
Absolutely.
So tell us about, we were talking a little bit in between about rice.
Yeah, rice.
Everybody thinks rice is the way to go if you drop the phone in water.
Yeah, a lot of people immediately put their phone in a bag of rice, which makes sense because you want to dry it out, right? So it's the first thing you never want to do when your phone gets wet is plug it in. You really don't even want to turn it on. If it's off, leave it off. But the next thing people want to do is dry it out, which is the right thing to do. Some people put them in their ovens, some people use hair dryers, some people put them in a bag of rice. The thing that's important to understand about water is it is consistent of minerals. When you see water dry on a glass surface, you will see spots. Mm-hmm. Those spots are the minerals that are left from the evaporation of the water. Those spots are on your phone circuitry. Over time, they start to attack the copper in your phone. And some people say, I had my phone in a bag of rice 3 months ago, now it's not working. That's because it's taken that long for a corrosion process, just like a car when you see corrosion eating away at a fender, they don't see it as much as you did years ago. But that's the same thing happening inside your phone. So you might get away with it short term, you might even get away with it for 9 months, a year. But some people aren't as lucky. So we tell people, the minute you drop your phone in the water, try to get it to us as quickly as possible. The longer you wait, the less the chances are we can fix it. Most of the time, if you bring it to us within 24, 48 hours, we can probably fix it. We probably have a 75% success rate on those. People who wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or put it in a bag of rice and come back 3 months later, I'd say that the percentages are much lower. Some people get lucky, the battery shorts out, we replace that, but a lot of times if it starts eating into the main circuitry, the phone's not going to be worth anything.
Very interesting. I mean, that's because that's the common thing is put it in the rice.
Yeah, well, any YouTube video you watch will tell you put it in rice. I mean, you know, it makes sense because you're drying the phone out. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, you might get lucky and it might work. And again, it also depends on the type of phone. A lot of the old flip phones, even some of the Blackberries, you can probably get away with that still. But the new smartphones, you've got high definition liquid crystal displays, and you've got a very strong processor board chip in there, and like I said, it's a computer. They're not going to take kindly to any type of foreign objects on the boards. Yeah.
So what's your most? So is there a common one that you seem to get a lot of, or?
Yeah, as these computer telephones are getting bigger, familiar you are with the Samsung S3, S4, and Note. They're literally about this big, and so you have a big glass surface area, and everybody talks about Gorilla Glass. I don't know if you're familiar with that terminology, but what Gorilla Glass does for you is it prevents scratching. And people think Gorilla Glass means I can drop it on the cement and it's not going to break, but that's not the case. So we see a lot of Samsung S3, now S4, and a lot of Note and Note 2 phones, as they're called, because that large surface area easily cracks. And so you take the iPhone like you have, or the 5, which is slightly bigger, it doesn't have as much surface area, so they're not as prone to cracking as the Samsung is. We do get a lot of them, but we get them from the younger generations.
Younger generations.
We get a lot of college students and high school students with those. What we get on the executive level, they have the bigger phone. They're the ones that they're bringing us the Samsung. So from a reliability standpoint, your old Blackberries, your flip phones, you can drop these 100 times. It's not likely you're going to break them. But the new phones are very susceptible to cracking screens.
Is that because they make a different, is it a thinner glass now, or?
Well, a lot of people say to me, why don't they make it out of plastic, right? Then it won't break. You can't get the heat sensing technology with plastic.
Right.
That's why you have to have the glass.
It's kind of like when you wear gloves. If you don't have the right kind of gloves, you can't
Right, that's
do your
right.
touch screen.
And if they make the glass too thick, it won't sense the heat. So what you have is a high definition screen underneath what's called a digitizer. Digitizer allows you to move things around. The high definition screen gives you that beautiful picture that you see. Some people, when they break through the glass, break both, then it's a very expensive repair. But that digitizer needs to have enough sensing capability that if they make it too thick or they make it out of plastic, you won't be able to sense anything.
So, what's the most unique? You have to have a story of something that, or you probably have a few stories, I'm sure.
The first 2 weeks we were open, a lady came in and she was distraught. She had left she was visiting from out of town. She had left her phone, I believe, in her pants. Her sister threw the pants in the washing machine and washed the phone.
Oh my.
So she came in and thought, well, this is a long shot. She says, I don't think you can do anything for me, but my phone was washed. I said, well, the good news is you just washed it yesterday and it's nice and clean, so let's see if we can do something. Well, we were able to bring the phone back to life. Her biggest concern was she had 600 photos, hundreds of contacts, and she wanted the data. So we were endeavoring to get her the information because we have the ability to transfer data from one phone to another or from a phone to another device. We have capability to do that. And so we were just trying to do that. But we were able to save the phone, and we told her that the screen itself has some water marks in it. And she went ahead and replaced the screen, and the phone was perfectly fine after that. So that was the first 2 weeks we were open. We had the washing machine event. We get a lot of people to drop them in the toilet. You always ask, well, how can that be? What most people say is their phone rings, and they pick it up and bobble it, and it goes in the toilet. So, we obviously disinfect
a shirt pocket or
pops
something,
out.
bend over.
Well, that's the other thing. Water damage is an interesting topic because everybody thinks you have to drop it in the sink, drop it on. All you have to do is be outside in the rain to get water damage. The other thing is people bring their phones into the shower, and I don't mean literally. They put it on the counter to listen to music while they're taking a shower.
I do that.
All that moisture gets inside the phone. Another thing people do is they wipe their phone like this, and all that moisture goes in the cracks around the glass and seeps into the phone. That's water damage. And if you take your phone back to any carrier, they're going to look for water damage, and they'll tell you violated your warranty, and they won't give you another phone. They might out of the kindness of their heart, but they don't have to.
So what about the waterproof
Cases.
Cases.
Yeah,
and
there's
things
a
that they
couple
have?
different products. There's a LifeProof case, which people come in and ask me about. The LifeProof case is not cheap. It's like $99. And OtterBox now teamed up with LifeProof. They were separate companies, but now they're the same company. They'll tell you that you can drop. They warranty against dropping it in water and fishing it out. But if it sits in the water for so long, then I think your warranty is probably void. Now they warranty a lot of times their case, not always the phone. So that's a tricky one too that you have to find out about. But there's a couple different brands of cases. I sell Ballistic, OtterBox, and Trident. All three of them have a case that's waterproof, but they're very expensive. I have a couple cases that are military grade cases that they can be dropped from a certain height. They can be dropped in the water, and they guarantee protection. But you're talking $80, $90, $100 for those types of cases.
No, if you're in a construction business and you're out there in the field or you're in a plant or something, it falls on that concrete floor. These guys are active, and it's probably worth that.
It is worth it, and I get a lot of construction company business. I encourage them to get the upgraded cases for their phones because even the environment, or the dirt and the dust gets inside the charging port, as you said earlier, in the ear jack or in the power buttons or the volume buttons, and they'll come in and we'll take the phone apart, and it's unbelievable how much stuff is in there.
Well, what would you recommend for somebody maybe to how often should they clean their phone, and what should they clean their phone with?
Yeah, if you want to clean your glass screen, you probably the best thing is like a chamois or a microfiber cloth with maybe just damp a little alcohol on there, and that'll clean up the screen real good. Maybe clean up the case. Again, you don't want to get alcohol down in the port, so you don't want to pour it on the phone. You want to put it
Right,
on
just a little-
the chamois, right? But I tell people that we do a 15-point check on phones when they come in, and I have a couple of business clients that we're working with locally, and they've actually paid me to have all their employees bring the phone in for the 15-point check.
That's a
And
great
at that
idea.
time, we talk about battery life also during the 15-point check, because if your phone is 18 months old, it's probably ready for a battery. Now, people say to me, they come in all the time and say, I have a flip phone and I've had the battery 4 years. Yes, and you probably have it another year and not need a battery. But again, when you're talking about a large phone that has a high definition display, that thing is using a lot of battery power.
And some of those batteries seem to give off a lot of heat.
They do. They give off a lot of heat, and not only the battery, but the microprocessor gives off a lot of heat. And people bring in batteries and they hand them to me, and the first thing we do is put them on the table and spin them. That's a bad
Nice.
battery, and that battery will damage your phone. I had a guy come in that the battery got so fat, it swelled so much, it actually damaged the circuit board in the phone. So I tell people, if you have a smartphone, and it depends on what kind of user you are, right? If you use your iPhone just to make telephone calls, your battery will last at least 2 years. But a lot of people watch videos on their phone, they're constantly listening to music, and they're using the phone for internet. What happens is people that come in, they say, my phone's not running as fast anymore. And we charge people to do what we call data services. And we tell people, well, I'm going to bet that you have downloaded a lot of applications. Yeah, I probably have 50 or 60 applications. That's okay, but they're all running and they don't realize it.
Right.
So we show them that in the background, all these applications are still open and running, and they're sucking battery juice. And so we show them how to close them all out and use only the ones that they're using when they need to use them. Other applications like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, those things are constantly searching for service. And if it can't find service, it just keeps searching, and that's killing your
Right.
battery.
I get that when I go to Comerica because my phone always dies down there because it searches and
Right.
searches. But
It's searching for Bluetooth,
But
Wi-Fi.
Dan, this has went by so fast. It's been exciting. I've learned a lot. It's like I've learned a lot of what to do, what not to do. I'd love to have you back on the show sometime. Update us on what's going on with cell phone repair, and if you get a chance, go visit Dan. He's in the Novi Town Center, right there between Panera. Where Bagger Dave's and AT&T and all that's at. It's real easy to find. Visit him. You're a company that has phones for your employees. Let them set up a plan for you, inspect them, save you some money. But thank you once again for joining us for Kiwanis Talk. I'm your host, Jeanette Christie. I look forward to seeing you again real soon.